Hi, guys. I wanted to take a minute to talk to you about some of the themes and imagery that we see in the lottery. Please forgive my very pale face today. I'm not feeling great, but I felt it was necessary to come and have a little bit of a conversation with you as good as I can for an online class. The first thing I want to talk about is why they had the lottery. I've seen some of you in the discussion board have discussed that it was for population control. However, I don't really think that fits. Killing one person, not restricting any sort of new childbirth, new residents in the area, there's no indication. Killing one person is just not going to do anything for population control. People are going to be born at a much faster rate than one per year, even in a small village. Instead, look at what Old Man Warner says. He says that there used to be a saying, corn's high, no, sorry, the lottery in June, corn's high soon. So if they're talking about the corn being high, they're wanting it to grow and be plentiful and bountiful. And if you think about some of our ancient cultures, like the Mayans, the Vikings, many others, human sacrifice was a thing. They believed that sacrificing the appropriate person to the gods would influence how their crops grew. It would influence what they were able to do or not do in their town. And so those beliefs held on for a very long time. Now, this was written back in, I think, 1948. So, at that time, it would have been a little bit closer in history than what we have now. However, this is something that is widely believed across many, many cultures. You have to sacrifice someone or something in order to appease the gods. Even early Christians would sacrifice goats and cows and things like that because they thought it appeased God. So the purpose of the lottery seems to be a bit more agrarian in nature. And to that end, if folks were living in a big city that was more sophisticated, they care about how high the corn was. Keep those things in mind as you're answering the discussion board questions. Also, I want to talk about the symbolism. I apologize for that. I am at my day job at the high school. I want to talk a little bit about the symbolism in the story. There's several pieces of symbolism in there, but I think that the big black box that they use in the lottery is probably one of the most important ones to think about. It's black, which in most literature does represent or have something to do with death. And it's worn out. In fact, this is not the original one. They say they've remade it, possibly using some of the pieces from the old one. So think about that in relation to how traditions are passed down through generations. Sometimes we remember that we're supposed to do this thing or that thing for our tradition, but we don't necessarily know why it's that way. We just know that's the tradition, that's what we do. Also think about the symbolism of some of those corners of the box wearing away, some of the places where the paint has worn off. So things aren't looking quite as spiffy as they used to. Things aren't looking quite as new or as exciting. And so the underneath, the inner workings are starting to come out a little bit. And then finally, also think about what happens when someone dies. Traditionally, they're put in a wooden box and they're buried. They're put away. So think about those things when you think about the symbolism. And then finally, the last point I wanted to make for you guys today is I want you to think about what you do in your daily life. If you have a religion, not everyone does, but if you do, is it the religion of your parents? Have you ever taken the time to sit down and figure out what you believe and why you believe it? Are you Southern Baptist because your parents were Southern Baptist? Are you Catholic because your parents were Catholic? Have you ever examined why? Have you ever looked at what that religion believes and what you believe to see if those things are congruent? Please excuse and forgive me. Apologies for that. That was my boss here at my day job. Too many things, too much, all the time. Sorry. So where was I? We were talking about why we do the things we do. Have you ever examined religions? Have you ever compared what you feel in your heart of hearts to see if that fits with this religion or that one, or even this denomination or that one? And it's not just religion, it's not just the big things. Think about the little things you do every day. Do you have a reason that you do them in the order that you do them? Do you take a shower in the morning when you get up or at night before you go to bed? I used to be a nighttime shower, but then started having some issues with some night sweats. And so now I shower in the mornings, which has been a tough transition for me because I'm not a morning person. Why do you do what you do? When I get to work here every morning, I come in, I set up my computer and turn it on because it takes a minute to boot up. And then I turn around and get my coffee mug and go down to the break room, fill it up with water, come back and start the coffee. And about that time, my computer is ready for me to get going for the day and check my emails and so forth. I have a very specific order in which I do things because it's the most logical. But I didn't start out knowing that. I worked it out over time. So think about why you do the things you do. A lot of the things we do are simply because that's the way our parents do it. When I got married, I learned that I fold towels a certain way because that's the way my mom always folded them. Not because that's how they fit on my shelf or that's how they're the most space efficient, but because that's the way my mom folded towels and taught me to fold towels. I know that my mother realized once, when I was maybe 8 or 10 years old, that she was always cutting off the legs of the turkey or something. There was some kind of a cooking thing that she was doing a specific way because her mother had always done it. And when she found out why, she felt foolish because her mother had done it because she had a small oven and that's the only way that it would fit. Whereas my mother had a large oven and it would fit however she wanted to fit it. So think about why people do the things they do and how hard it is to break away from those traditions. If you wanted to go to a different religion, if you wanted to completely change your routine, how hard would that be? It's very easy for us to stand back and say, well, if I was in that society, I would never participate in the stoning of another individual. But we don't know that. If you were raised with that, if that's all you ever knew, if that's how things were always done, you might think other towns were silly for giving it up. It's hard to say. It's hard to know if you're not actually there. So keep these things in mind as you answer your discussion board questions. And again, I apologize for the interruptions and the background noises and things like that. I learned very long ago not to try to make every video perfect. It wouldn't be perfect if you were sitting in the classroom. It's not perfect if we do it this way online. So if you have any questions, please always remember that you can email and let me know. Please enrich your discussions. Make sure you are interacting with others, reading their opinions, answering them with your own, and so forth. And I will try to update you guys like this anytime we're doing a new story so that we're all on the same page about what we are doing and where we're going. So our next one is going to be The Possibility of Evil, which is also a Shirley Jackson story. As you read that, please think about how that can apply to modern life and what parallels you can find in our modern life. And we'll have more conversations soon. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day.